Andrew Luck has suddenly decided to retire from the NFL. There was no warning about this, seemingly. It just came out the blue. It blindsided all of us. And not only did it blindside the NFL fan base, it certainly blindsided Colts fans. It left me with a few questions. Is this something we should have saw coming? What does his retirement mean to his legacy? Is he a bust now? Well, we're going to go through all of the confusing rhetoric after a shocking decision for Andrew Luck to retire and find out the truth about Andrew Luck's retirement. Andrew Luck has retired, and it's hard to believe that he was in the league as long as he was because he was injured so much. As we all know, Andrew Luck entered the league in the 2012 draft as the #1 overall pick. Second pick is RG3, but we thought Andrew Luck would easily be in the league for the next 10 to 15 years, but here he is calling it quits before his 10th year. So in the aftermath of such a wild and rash decision, seemingly, a lot of questions get asked, a lot of emotions get thrown around. And one of the questions I saw being asked about Andrew Luck is, since he retired early, does this make him a bust? Like the second pick in the draft, RG3 is considered a bust? I would say no. There is no way you can look at Andrew Luck's career and call him a bust. I think that's irresponsible, and I think that's just not looking at the numbers of it. The fact of the matter is that Andrew Luck was an extremely productive quarterback when he was on the field. And while I can understand how his career could be disappointing, I can't sit here and call Andrew Luck a bust, because Andrew Luck, when he was on the field, was who you thought he was going to be. He was a very good, very, very strong, elite level franchise quarterback. You cannot deny that. Look at his record when he's with the Colts, and look at the record with the Colts without him. Look at how much you're probably going to struggle this year with just Jacoby Brissett behind him. There is going to be a significant difference. There is always going to be a significant difference between a guy like Andrew Luck and another NFL quarterback. So I can't sit here and call him a bust. And then if you look at some of the things he's accumulated in his career, you see over 23,000 yards, 4 Pro Bowls, 2018 Comeback Player of the Year, and a 55-33 record. So I couldn't sit here with a straight face and say that Andrew Luck is in any way a bust. It's certainly disappointing he's retired before his 30s, but when he was on the field, there was no doubt in anybody's mind that he was at least a franchise level quarterback since the first day he stepped on the field. A bust is when you think you're going to get something awesome and you end up getting something that stinks. Sure, while some people may argue that RG3 was awesome for 1 year, but then sucked the rest and now he's a bust, I think there's a difference between the sustained success over years that Andrew Luck had and the 1 year of success that RG3 had. The next thing we have to ask ourselves is, what is Andrew Luck's legacy going to be? Is he going to be remembered as a player who was great, was elite, and an organization didn't put enough around him to sustain his love for the game, and ultimately he retired young, like a Jim Brown, like a Calvin Johnson? Or is he just going to be forgotten as just another quarterback who didn't last that long in the NFL? I think the obvious answer is that Andrew Luck is going to be something that we talk about for a while now, especially because of how his career ended and how abruptly it had ended. When you think about the quarterback position, you think that it's not really a position that's designed to take that much of a toll on your body at the NFL level anymore. The game has legislated it so that quarterbacks could stay in the league longer to avoid things like this. And then when you compare the toll on his body that Andrew Luck took compared to a Cam Newton, while Andrew Luck has had a ton of injuries, he has not taken the beating that Cam Newton has over his career, and yet Cam Newton has had a far longer career than Andrew Luck. But then you have to look at his organization, the Indianapolis Colts. Did they do something wrong? Did they not protect him? Are they the reason he's retiring, or did he just never love the game and finally couldn't justify playing football anymore? And I think that's a hard question to answer because, again, look at the injuries that Andrew Luck has taken over the years, some of the which he's actually played through. We all know about the torn cartilage in his ribs that he played through, the partially torn abdomen. He had a lacerated kidney that left him peeing blood. Ugh. He's had concussions, a torn labrum in his throwing shoulder that he couldn't throw the ball for a while, and then a mysterious ankle, calf, Achilles, whatever it was. That was his last injury. That was the one that took him out. And I think this is a more complex thing than Andrew Luck not loving football. I think this is more a case study on how injuries and rehab from injuries take a serious toll on a player's psyche and will to play the game. I'm going to compare Andrew Luck to somebody in the NBA. And I think the perfect person to compare him to is Derrick Rose, as far as his psyche and love for the game after numerous injuries. Because I think what happens with some athletes is that they have to spend so much time rehabbing and working back to get to the level that they were, that they don't get enough time to work on their craft and get better and fall in love with the game again. Instead, they're always rehabbing. They're always trying to get back to a certain level. They're always mentally fighting a steep uphill battle. And after a while of that, it can really disillusion you with your love of the game and really stall your rehab, because you're thinking the whole time you're rehabilitating from this injury about the next time you're going to get injured. And Derrick Rose had a similar thing. I mean, when he had all those ACL tears, all those injuries, all those ankle things, all those things going on with the lower half of his body year after year, he got to a point to where he just didn't want to play basketball anymore. Now, Derrick Rose's situation is different. He had a huge amount of money that he just could not walk away from and retire from. But remember, when he was on the Cavs, he walked away from the team for like 3 weeks and was just evaluating himself mentally. And I think we have to kind of respect and understand that injuries and rehabbing from injuries take a toll on the body. Of course, we all understand that as sports fans, but I think what we underestimate is the toll on the mind rehabbing from an injury takes on somebody. We should have saw this coming when Andrew Luck had to take like 2 years off for that shoulder injury, and still didn't come back feeling too good and still had nagging injury issues. And I think Andrew Luck saw all of that in his recent injury with his calf and really thought about what the mental toll on him would be if he did tear his Achilles in the game, let alone the physical toll. But I think it's more about the mental toll with Andrew Luck. And he thought to himself, he would rather not play football, not make millions of dollars, than put himself through the mental agony of having to come back from an Achilles injury, which is the hardest injury to come back from, and be the same athlete, let alone just the work it takes to rehab. And I'm not saying that Andrew Luck did not want to work hard and that is why he retired from football. I think Andrew Luck had decided that he didn't love football enough to justify always having to work back from injury. Now, if you feel like that's quitting, I can understand that, but I can also understand and respect that he saw that in himself, was honest with himself about that, and decided rather than kind of being shady about the injury and, just sitting back and collecting a check for a year or two, while he pretended to get better from this calf injury, that he just decided to be straight up and retire. I really do respect that about what Andrew Luck did there. But I think it opens up a larger conversation when it comes to sports fans and how we talk about injuries. Because a lot of times we talk about injuries and we're straight to the timetable to rehab, the physical timetable, because that's what we care about in the game. We care about the physical aspect of it because we want our player back on the field, but we don't really think about and pay much respect to the mental toll it takes to rehab an injury. And I know that I've had to do minor rehabilitation from an injury to play sports in high school, but I've never had to do a major injury rehabilitation. So honestly, if you're somebody who came across this video and has had to recover from like an ACL tear or Achilles or a broken leg or, you know, a major injury in order to play your sport again, I want you to tell us what that toll is on you mentally and how heartbreaking it is when one of, because I see these stories happen all the time when somebody, they work all year to come back from an ACL injury, they finally get up back on the field, and then 2 plays later they break their leg and it's just back to square one. And I just, as somebody who has played sports and is very sympathetic to how hard it is to rehab, that always crushes me when I see that, because I know how hard that is mentally and physically for somebody to overcome. But with Andrew Luck, I think he did a good thing for sports fans all around. Now, Colts fans probably don't agree with me. They probably hate me for that opinion. But he has opened our eyes to a whole nother aspect and open discussion to a whole nother aspect of rehabbing from injury. And that is the mental toll that it takes on him. And I think that's truly why he retired. I think he looked the reality of possibly tearing his Achilles and coming back from that and just decided he'd rather not even risk tearing an Achilles and having to come back from that he's just done at this point. And I can respect somebody who could be straight up about that and honest about that. Now, obviously, since Andrew Luck is not going to be in the NFL this year, that has implications around the league when a player like this retires, because that means that the AFC South has opened up. Oh my God. If you're a Houston Texans fan, your life just got easier. If you are a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, your life just got way easier, because you don't have to play Andrew Luck and you don't have to worry about Andrew Luck in your division, which means it's probably going to be a 2-team race, and I really think it's just going to be Houston in that division now. And Houston was a team that I thought was going to have to contend for a wild card spot, because I really thought Indianapolis was going to be really good this year. But obviously, with Jacoby Brissett in there instead of Andrew Luck, that certainly changes things. And it doesn't just change things for the AFC South. I've been saying this all summer long, but I think the AFC is just completely jam-packed with really good teams this year. Just off the top of my head, if you look at the AFC West, you got the Chargers and the Chiefs. Those are 2 really good teams out the division. You don't know what you can get out of Oakland. And Denver still has an amazing defense, and who knows, Joe Flacco might catch fire and be really good this year. You never know. With the AFC South, again, you got the Texans and the Jaguars, who could be really good. I don't really believe in either team that much, but one of them has to make the playoffs. In the AFC East, you have New England, and the Jets might make some noise this year. I believe in them. And then in the AFC North, you have Baltimore, you have Pittsburgh, and you have Cleveland. That's a lot of teams that should make the playoffs, but not a lot of spots. And I think the Colts just opened up a whole nother spot for a whole nother team. So that is just going to be very interesting. It does open up this conference. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below, whether it's about the conversation about how Andrew Luck's retirement has opened the league, or the conversation about the mental toll that injuries take on an athlete when it comes to coming back from major injuries. Let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. If you like what I do, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload. And if you want to support the show, you can do it in 2 ways. Both are awesome, both are cool, and you get something out of both of them. First, you can buy some merch. I got shirt links down below, the little carousel down there. If you just click on the shirt you like, click it, buy it, helps show out. That's awesome. Also, you can support me on Patreon, and you'll get your name added to the bottom of the screen on this ticker bar down below. Either way is appreciated, and I appreciate anybody who watches the video, let alone somebody who helps me out in this direct way. It's awesome. Thank you so much. But that is it for this week's video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.